Alright you guys, so we are back in the backyard today. The last time that I drove the car, it felt great. It felt better than it ever has. We actually fixed my blow-off valve. I didn't think that the blow-off valve was ever actually going to be an issue on my car that was going to affect the power band of my car and the drivability of my car, but apparently it did. I just figured that it wasn't going to actually affect it that heavily because some people run no blow-off valve at all, so I couldn't really understand why the blow-off valve would cause such a huge issue, but it did, and we fixed it, so that's amazing. We actually upped the boost on my car a little bit. I think I'm running about 14 pounds at this point. So what happened the last time that I drove my car, the fitting, okay, so there's a coolant hose that comes from the firewall of the car and attaches to the head of the block. That fitting is usually pressed in, but somehow it came out. So that fitting came out. There was JB weld around the fitting. I think that when we originally did my engine swap, that fitting was leaking and we had to go to the track the next day just to test the car and everything like that. So we just threw some JB weld on there, and then I think I completely forgot about it. And now the JB weld decided that it doesn't want to hold up anymore. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to try to put that fitting back into the head of the block so that my car will actually hold coolant. Because without that fitting, it's not going to hold coolant. It's all just going to pour out from the back of the engine. So that's what I need to do today. Hopefully I don't have to remove the entire engine just to get to that fitting, but everything is so tight packed in this car that that might be what has to happen. But what my game plan is so that I don't have to remove the engine is just to take off the intake manifold and see how much space I have, see if we can work with it. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do, so I'm going to start off with that. Alright, so this is what I'm talking about back here. I know it's really hard for you guys to see, but there is a fitting way down in here. This has JB weld all over it, and this whole fitting, from what I think and what I saw yesterday, it looked like it just popped out. It didn't really look like it snapped inside the head, which is good because that's going to be way less work for me, but I do have to figure out how to get that out. Steven's here already, getting to work.
If we do have to pull the engine out of this, what I would do in that scenario, since it would be much easier while it's out, is actually to take that fitting out and weld the AM fitting on there. So we can either loop it or just use a better quality line instead of just regular heater hose.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
And that way there's no way for that to pop out again or anything like that, you know. So.
The fitting is right here. So like if we take the intake manifold off, like how much room is that actually going to give us? Like how much space is that actually going to create for us? It's going to make it that much better. And the fitting didn't snap in the head, right? I don't really know if it's worth it for us to take off this intake manifold because it's already becoming a headache, and I just noticed obviously the intake manifold stops right here, and all of our work is pretty much going to be in this general little pocket right here. So taking off the intake manifold is only going to give us this extra little bit of room right here for our arms and stuff, and I'll probably be working over the side of the car rather than from the front because I'm small, so I might just leave this on here. Okay, so this is the line that I've been telling you guys about. So as you can see, there's JB weld on here, I think because this was originally leaking, but this gets pressed into the head of the block, and it just kind of popped out of the hole, and there was JB weld around here just because there was a leak in this fitting. So as you can see, as soon as you take this fitting out of the head of the block, all the coolant pours out. So we got the fitting out, we cleaned it out and everything, but Steven tried to put it back in the hole that it belongs in several times, and it was super loose. Every time that Steven comes over here, you make my car better and better every time. So you have a 2JZ one of these at your house. You're gonna go and get so that we can loop the line.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. You're great. Do you want Starbucks? We're probably gonna go to Starbucks while you go. Okay, well, all right, we'll be back then. We'll fix this.
A few moments later.
So Steven's back, and he realized that the 2JZ fitting is not going to fit in my 1JZ. It was a little bit of a stretch, but you know, a lot of the JZ parts are interchangeable, so we just figured that we would try it out. So he went back to his place, tried to take the fitting off of his 2JZ. That did not work because it's pressed in there pretty well. So we've got a couple of options.
Option number one is to clean the fitting entirely and clean the inside of the port on the head and JB weld it again, which is not the proper way of doing it. I don't really want to do it, but
especially because it's for coolant.
Yeah, it's time is an issue, so
yeah.
The other way would be to find another one, somebody who's willing to even part ways with that part. Or option 3 is pulling the motor and welding a AN fitting into the side of the head, which would be
the best option.
The best option,
yeah.
But the most time consuming. So.
Yeah, because it's gonna, like, if we welded the fitting onto the head where it's supposed to go, that would be the best way to do it, but unfortunately we're gonna have to find somebody that can TIG weld it, and obviously, as you guys know, that space in the engine bay is very tight, so they're not gonna be able to TIG weld it while the engine is in the bay, so I'm gonna have to pull the engine for them to do that. Leaning towards pulling the engine and having somebody TIG weld it onto the engine for me, just because that's gonna be the best way to go about it, and then I won't ever have to worry about that happening again, because then I'll just have AN fittings like the ones that are on my Chase Bay's reservoir that just screw on and screw off, so if it ever does start leaking again, I can just literally screw the hose off and then screw a new one back on, or whatever I need to do for it to be fixed. But that requires us pulling the engine, which we're not doing today because I can't. I have to find somebody that's going to be willing to do it first and see if they'd be willing to do it anyways. So that's going to take some time. But unfortunately, we weren't able to fix the car today, but I think we made a lot of progress today, though.
Yeah.
I think we made a lot of progress, so it sucks that this, something simple and stupid as this is literally so random. Like, this is literally gets pressed into the head of your block, so like...
That might be like the first time I've ever seen this happen on the JZ, honestly.
Yeah, literally when Dan found this, he was like, what? Well, there you have it. The last couple days with the Z has been pretty eventful, if you ask me, but we've made a lot of progress, and that's honestly what's most important to me. I'm so happy with the way that the car is running now. I'm so happy with the way that the car is driving. The drivability is so much better on the car, and the power band is so much smoother. In the last couple of days, we've accomplished so much. We rerouted my vacuum lines. We did a test on my car to make sure that the head gasket wasn't blown, and we fixed my blow-off valve, which I honestly didn't even know was the source of my power loss issue. Like I was telling you guys before, I used to drive my car, and my car would not hit boost until 4,500 RPM at all. Like, I'm talking about zero boost, basically a naturally aspirated engine all the way up until 4,500 RPM. Didn't know what the problem was, but my car would basically turn into a rocket ship as soon as the boost would kick in. It was so hard to drive the car, and it was so unpredictable, especially when I was trying to drift it, because if I was in like a tight corner or something, I'd be clutch kicking my way through the entire corner, and then the car would jump into boost all of a sudden at 4,500 RPM, and I'd be flying off the track. So it used to be really difficult to drive, but thankfully enough, Steven was able to fix my blow-off valve for me. He just added some washers to it. But I've just made so much progress on this car in the last couple of days. I can't even be upset about the fact that it's broken right now and the fitting for the coolant hose popped off. It's honestly super random that the fitting for the coolant hose popped off. It shouldn't have, because it's factory that's pressed into the head of the block like that, so it was honestly just a fluke. That's nothing that I could have prevented, except for now I'm going to be able to prevent it because I'm going to try to make it better. It's fine.
This is fine.
Honestly, I'm so happy with the way that the car is running, like I've said a million times. I could not have made this much progress without my buddies Evanor and Steven. They have been a huge help to me, so if you guys want to check them out on Instagram, please feel free. If you guys have made it this far, I want to just thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram if that's something that you're interested in doing. I will see you guys in the next video. We've got a lot of big things coming up for the Z. I guess we'll find out when I come back. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.